Waterfall, the CCW podcast.
Hello and welcome to Waterfall. It's the water saving podcast brought to you by CCW. That's the Consumer Council for Water. Waterfall's all about saving water, saving money, protecting the environment and combating climate change. I mean, what's not to like with all of that? I'm Mike and I'm here with co-host Karen. Hello, Karen.
Hello, Mike.
And of course, Tom's here too.
Hi, everyone. Mike, good to have you in one of these intros. You're rarely here now.
Oh, well, you know, I've been busy. Let's just leave it at that. We've got a really great episode coming up, all about some research that's been done about high pressure showers and whether that matters or not, the pressure of your shower. So be interested to see what is going on there. And that's a combo of unis who have done that work, is Bristol, Surrey and Swansea. Now, I'd have expected Bath Uni to have been involved in a piece of work about shower research, surely. What is wrong with them? They've missed a trick there. But before we get into that, I just want to... Well, I've got two questions, really. The first one is, Karen, Tom, have you come down from your high of going to Gardener's World live? Oh. What an episode.
It was such good fun. It really was. And we learnt so much as well. You know, it was great. And the people we met were as enthusiastic as we were about water saving, which was marvellous.
That was frightening. listening to it. I got the impression you also got treated like VIPs, which I learned a bit about your egos because you appeared to absolutely love that aspect too.
It was wonderful, wasn't it? I mean, we were ferried around. We were, given our own garden with Josh, and we got to meet Malcolm Moody, which I'm sure you can tell from the episode. He's an absolute legend and a gentleman as well.
Yeah, indeed.
I thought it was a very thoughtful episode, actually. I thought there was some really great stuff in there. So please do check that out. That is the Gardener's World live episode. I don't know off the top of my head what number that is, but it's a very recent one. So please do check that out. Now, today's episode, as I mentioned, is about high pressure shower research. And on the topic of showers, I want to ask you guys if you've heard of this concept called the everything shower. I was reading about this a few weeks ago, and to be honest, I was sort of mortified. But have you guys heard of it?
Not until you raised it with us.
It's a very TikTok-y Gen Z thing. I'm definitely familiar with it, yeah.
So this is a shower that lasts literally for hours, and you do everything in it, all kinds of beauty treatments. It's there to, refresh mind and body and use basically literally a ton of water and waste loads of energy. So personally, I found that pretty abhorrent, but clearly not everyone feels that way. I may be an outlier here.
Well, I think we all enjoy a bit of pampering at some point, don't we? But I think there's a limit to which we should be encouraging people to consider that amount of water being used.
I know. Apparently, they last about an hour on average, these everything showers. And,
wow.
I mean, that'd be like uncorking all of Malcolm Moody's water butts in one go. There's so much water there.
Oh, we couldn't do that to Malcolm.
No. His precious orchids, never.
So, come on, a quick guess. What's the longest shower you've ever had?
Mine must be, I was particularly caked with mud after a Glastonbury, maybe 2010. But I think even then, that's like 10 minutes. I wouldn't have indulged too much.
I think I'm in that ballpark. Yeah. Karen? You're going to bring out the hair up thing again, aren't you?
I mean, I'm becoming a bit compulsive now because I think I'm so aware of the pressures on our water resources and my responsibility to lead by example that I'm kind of in and out in a flash these days.
Oh, very good. I didn't expect that answer. So that was great. If you want to tell us about your record short times in showers or your record long times in showers, you can get in touch with the show. We have an email address.
We do, and that's podcast@ccwater.org.uk.
And we always love to hear from you. So let's get to the meat of this episode. Let's just bring on the guests.
This podcast is brought to you by CCW, the voice for water consumers.
So we're joined today by James Daly, Sustainability Manager at University of Bristol, by Ian Walker, who's a Professor of Environmental Psychology at Swansea University, and Pablo Pereia Doel. Pablo, I'm sorry, I'm going to have said your surname wrong. But Pablo is our Water Literacy and Sustainable Water Programme Lead at the Institute of Sustainability at the University of Surrey. So three highly esteemed guests, and you've joined us today to tell us about a really interesting piece of research that you've done. First question, tell us, what was this research about and what actually inspired you to start?
So the research was originally supposed to be looking at behavioural interventions in showering. So we were trying to build on research that Pablo had done previously within the university and looking at ways to try and bring down how much water, and in particular how much hot water, was being used in our halls of residence. And although we were looking at trying to see behavioural ways to change how people are interacting with their shower, we actually found that in a lot of regards, it came down to the physical, the environmental impacts, and it wasn't necessarily the bits that we were looking at. We tried to control for what the shower head being used was, and we looked at flow rates, and then ultimately what it actually came down to was the biggest single factor appeared to be pressure, or the lack of.
I think I can kind of understand that. When I think about it, if I use the shower at the gym, not something I do frequently, but where I do, if I try and wash my hair there, I end up pressing that button multiple times because it's like being dribbled on. Do you think, is that the kind of findings that you were getting to, that actually a better pressure then results in people being able to shower quicker?
I think if you think about it, it could have gone both ways. So it was very plausible up front that with a feeble dribble of the sort you're describing, which I think we've all experienced in various places, you might get bored quickly and just give up essentially and use less water overall. Or it could be that it's the high pressure where you end up using less overall because you get the job done quicker or because you reach a state of satisfaction quicker. So both of those seemed entirely plausible up front, which was it's a good example of why sometimes you have to actually do the research and get the measurements to split these things apart.
And how did you go about, the research? Could you perhaps tell us a little bit about the way that you were able to monitor all this shower use?
Everything started in tourist accommodations. We did, I think 5 years ago, we did an experiment there on showering behavior. And you might wonder why. And let me start with why. Obviously, showering means water consumption, but potentially hot water consumption. We assume that people take usually hot showers. So this means energy consumption and also carbon emissions. So if we think about carbon emissions, the carbon emissions coming from the use of hot water in showers are higher than the ones coming from cars. Moreover, in Australia, a recent study indicated that domestic hot water consumption accounts for 3.8% of each person's share of Australia's carbon emissions. And this is on a par with the carbon emissions coming from aviation. This is 4.1%. So therefore, that's the reason why we decided to focus on this high impact behavior, to reduce not only water consumption, but also to reduce energy and carbon emissions, in this case from tourist accommodations. So basically, we developed an experiment in 6 tourist accommodations across locations. We had 3 countries, in Denmark, in Spain, and here in the UK. Different markets. We had beach accommodations and also urban accommodations, different comfort levels. We had hostels and hotels, different type of services. We have all-inclusive accommodations and room-only accommodations, and also different management, independent hotels versus large hotels. So we collected over 17,000 showers using this smart technology that basically provides real-time feedback in form of a timer while the behavior is happening. And the results from that initial study indicated that providing that real-time feedback reduced water runtime by almost 26%. Similarly, similar results were achieved when we used different persuasive messages in addition to the real-time feedback, indicating that the best persuasive message was the one that was indicating a challenging task, for instance, shower in less than 3:30 minutes, 3 minutes and a half, and appealing to altruistic values. And from there, from that research, we moved to the one in halls of residence, where we found the effect of water pressure on overall water consumption. And my colleague Ian perhaps can talk more about that experiment in halls of residence.
Yeah, so the halls were monitored with the Aguadio sensors to get some objective data on how long the showers were used for, when they were paused and all that kind of thing. And we ended up with data from close to 300 showers, followed for a period of the best part of a year, pretty much a whole academic year in university settings. And what we saw there was pretty clear that there was a relationship between the physical properties of the shower and the amount of water consumed. And it looks like there was more than one thing going on. So on the one hand, we saw an effect of flow, so in general, lower flow rates use less water because there's less water per minute coming out. But there was this separate effect of pressure, which seems to be that if people had low pressure showers, they tended to run those for longer. So there were more of those minutes happening.
Just got to ask, Ian, what is an Aguadio sensor? I'm pleased to hear that you didn't have to stand outside people's showers with some kind of clipboard measuring things.
Aguadio come from a Danish company who make these very neat little Internet of Things sensors. You pop them in a shower. They have a display on with a timer, which we did look at as well. Mm-hmm. But fundamentally what they do is they use a mixture of noise sensing, movement sensing, and humidity sensing to automatically log when showers are running and just log all that back. So they can just be left alone and they just reported back quietly in the background on what every shower was doing very objectively. So we had lovely data.
Oh, what a clever device. And I suppose that with the timer on it as well kind of builds into that. Does having something in, I know we've seen little like egg timer type shower timers that often water companies give out for free. And that, I think, Pablo, you were just saying there as well, that did have some effect.
Yeah, that's correct. This is what we call the real-time eco-feedback effect. And basically, to understand this, we need to consider that showering is habitual behavior. This is something that we do every day, right? Or most of us do every day. Yeah. So this means that we kind of switch off. We disconnect our cognition from that behavior, and we act in completely automatic mode. Right, and in fact, because we are behaving in automatic mode, we might not even remember what we did. Right, sometimes it happens to me that during the day I wonder, oh, did I put the deodorant? Right, because that was completely automatic, and I don't even remember whether I did that. Right, so with showering is something similar, and also because the context is usually the same. We usually shower in the same place, let's say at home. So by installing this smart timer into that context, we are introducing a new element there. So that new element helps to kind of break that habit. There's something new there. Right? And if we do this, for instance, like we did in hotels, it's a new context as well. So this facilitates to break that habit, right? So with the shower timer, because they provide feedback in real time while the behavior is happening, with this we catch users' attention. Right, and we keep breaking that behavior during the behavior itself, right? And that's the effect of the real-time feedback. Now, having said that, the real-time feedback basically has both informational and also motivational properties, and the type of feedback that we provide is one of the mechanisms that will determine people's response towards that particular intervention or behavior. It's one of several, right? We have, for instance, the behavior itself that has an influence. Of course, the contextual factors has an influence, and also the individual characteristics like attitudes or personal values and so on. So in our case, our feedback is very simple. It's just a timer. It shows when how long the showering is taking, and that's it. No colors, no voice, no sound, nothing, just a timer. So having said that, for instance, if we used a different type of feedback, like providing colors, the individual's response could be different, right? Individuals could actually reject that feedback, or individuals could actually have longer showers, even longer showers. So the type of feedback is very important.
Two things just to add on to that is one of the advantages with us using this device in this way is it was automatic. You don't have the situation where you have to, with a sound timer, where the person actively has to take part. So that was one of the sort of the big steps here. And it also has a digital display, so users know how long it is. And one of the functions is that if there's not a person in there and the water's running, the timer doesn't run. And if they pause the shower, the timer pauses, which meant that it was the actual showering time in itself, which was sort of a big step and gave us that little bit more detail than we might have otherwise had. And then something else just to add in the context of the research is a lot of the devices, or a significant number of the devices we put in, we covered up the timer so that we had that baseline. We had that this is what would happen if you didn't have that feedback coming to you. And that's sort of what we used as a control. And that's what allows us to say that there was a reduction of this amount of time, as opposed to just saying the amount of water used was reduced by X. Yeah.
I think that's really interesting as well, that the timer pauses when you're not in the shower. We did some research a little while ago about how people use water, and there was quite a surprising proportion of people who left the shower running whilst they weren't in it, just to get some time to themselves, essentially. I think our overall ask on that was, please don't just run the shower to hide in the bathroom. But I think you've touched on already the average shower time, but you saw quite a wide range of times, didn't you, within this study?
Yeah, that's right. For instance, in hotels, the average shower time is actually lower than what people initially thought, right? It's just around 5 minutes. And actually, it's important to say, talking about the experiment, it's important to say that the participants, in both cases, in hotels and in halls of residence, were not aware of being part of this experiment. Right. So we developed what is called a covert experiment. Also, the participants were not financially motivated to save water or energy in both cases, right? In hotels, everything is included in the rooms, and the same in halls of residence. The students pay a monthly price. And also, importantly, the participants were not subject to peer pressure. We know that social norms, peer pressure can be a trigger or a behavioral trigger. But in this case, because showering is a private behavior, no one knows what's going on inside the shower cubicle. There's no that kind of peer pressure, right? And this is what it makes our experiments and the findings so robust, right? In fact, this is what we did is through experiments, and basically these are kind of the gold standard in research design. They're so valuable and have high validity.
And just to chip in very briefly again, while we're thinking about the timers, there was another interesting thing that happened there, which was the people who didn't see the timers where they were covered up, their showers generally tended to creep longer and longer and longer as the months went past. And you saw this general upward drift in how long people were in, how much water they were consuming. And that drift completely disappeared when the timer was present. So whatever the length of a person's first shower was, they were probably still doing the same 6 months later. So it looks like one of the effects the timers had was that it gave people a bit of an anchor and a system for checking whether what they were doing today is the same as what they did yesterday. And it seems that people do that.
Be sure to head back through the archives and check out all the past episodes of Waterfall.
I'm interested in how you think the results from this research can now be used. Are you going to be sort of recommending, making recommendations to manufacturers or potentially to policymakers?
I think one of the things we've talked about quite a lot when we've discussed this is that there's various implications you could take from this. You could just on the surface say, oh, well, maybe we need to avoid low pressure appliances and that'll save water. I think in some ways the striking policy position is to say, actually, at the moment, we don't know enough. If we were looking at, say, product labeling, which I know has been considered in the past based on flow rate or things like this, I think what this study suggests is maybe it would be slightly premature to do anything in that sort of direction because there's clearly complexities about this. Flow rate plays a role, pressure plays a role. We're sure there's probably a whole bunch of other stuff that plays a role as well. We really feel the need to bottom those things out a little bit further before policy action really feels like it's ready to go.
The flow rate point, Ian, we often have like low flow shower heads and taps, etc., that are promoted as a water saving device. So does low flow, it doesn't necessarily restrict pressure, does it? So did you see any particular benefits of having low flows?
Yeah, and I mean, the two things are essentially separate. You can have every permutation of high and low pressure and high and low flow. The classic example might be something like a high-powered water pistol is low flow, high pressure, and you would get a flipping good blasting from it without using a lot of water. So you can decouple those things. And there are even some shower head manufacturers who started making heads that take advantage of this sort of thing and use relatively low flow, but then use a bit of engineering to increase the perceived pressure of that water. And it's possible that that's the best of all worlds. But it seems from what we've seen that the two have these separate systems. So pressure seems to get people to turn the shower off sooner, which is obviously a good thing. It's a time effect. And flow is the amount of water that's coming out of the shower for each minute that goes past. So both of them separately seem to have some influence.
I wonder if there's something then for our waterfall listeners who are always keen on water saving. It sounds like the ideal is low flow, high pressure, have a digital timer in there with you to keep you honest on your showers, and maybe move location every now and then. Keep it fresh.
Something that's probably important to say on the pressure piece is pressure wasn't an element we were specifically looking for in this research. It was a variable we were trying to account for in terms of flow rate from the different types of shower heads we had. And so because of that, we didn't have as big a range. We had a pretty big range of pressures by virtue of the campus design. But when we say high pressure, we're not talking very, very high pressure. We're talking sort of, Ian, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we stopped around 4?
Yeah, 4.5 bar, I think, wasn't it?
So within that range, and the biggest impact wasn't at the high end. It wasn't that it's got faster and faster. It was at the low end. Once you got below sort of the 1.5, 2 thing, the curve started sort of increasing. It was the lowest pressure showers that were the much longer time. That was where the really big impact was.
So there is a kind of pressure bar that we wouldn't ideally want showers to drop below, because that's, I assume, when they become less refreshing, less cleansing, and you do end up just standing in them for more and more time.
Yeah, it certainly seems that's what's happening. I mean, the one thing we've not measured, of course, is what's going on in the people's heads.
Yes.
We're kind of inferring that from their behavior in this case. And something we do hope to do quite soon is to do more work on the user experience and actually find out how are these things changing what people experience and what's going on in the middle of the chain between pressure and flow and consumption to create that relationship.
Oh, that's very exciting. So there's more to come. When will you be doing that?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, there's far more to come. Actually, we are just finishing an additional experiment that we run here on campus at the University of Surrey. Also, that experiment started in September and it's going to end now in July, and where we looked at the role of habits. So we designed specific methods around habits. And we have other plans in mind. Next academic year, we are going to run a new experiment, also here in halls. And then we are planning to, for instance, to set up a showering lab on campus where we can do all sorts of experiments in a controlled environment. And this is in collaboration with the shower manufacturers in here in the UK and the Bathroom Manufacturers Association. And as Ian said, it's very important for us to account for the user experience. So it is very important for us to account for the elements that, in this case, the shower manufacturers are looking at when they design new showers or shower heads and so on.
Oh, that sounds really interesting. Perhaps we can have you back on when you've got the results of that next phase of work.
Yeah, certainly. Happy to be back here. Yeah.
Well, if we get the shower lab going, you should come and visit and come and do a remote recording. Maybe try to do some testing and see how you experience different conditions.
I love that idea. Karen, I thought that's what you were going to say. Can we get down there and be in the shower lab?
Yeah, I'll have to think about that one.
I think producer Tom might worry about the security of his recording equipment.
Pablo touched on something that's very useful about using university settings as a sort of a living laboratory, in that because it's in halls of residence, because the equipment's there, we have a different 6,000-ish students each year at the University of Surrey in the halls. So we're not worrying that the study that was done the last year is going to affect the outcome this year, because it's a completely new group of people. And it also allows, we lose some of the UK age-wide research, but you can see the impact of different people coming through. So it gives a very almost unique opportunity in that regard.
One of the other things we've got a nice opportunity is also we've got the ability to compare shared showers in some halls with private showers in en-suites in other halls. And so we've got that additional ability to tease out some of the social influences. And it does look from first glances like you do see some differences there, that people behave a bit differently in those two settings.
Oh, interesting. I assume that's because if you feel that there's probably a queue of people waiting to get into that shower, you might behave differently from if it's your bathroom at home and it's just a sibling or partner.
Yeah, I do wonder if that's going on, because certainly the average length we saw was surprisingly short. It was shorter than I think we expected to see. And it could well be that pressure for other people to share the facility was part of that effect.
Fantastic. So that's another top tip for our waterfall listeners.
A queue.
A queue, yeah, form a queue.
It wasn't a huge element of what we were looking at, and we haven't done the in-depth analysis of how much water it saved, but we were surprised by how many people paused their showers. It was, Pablo, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was the majority of people turned the water off in the middle of their shower. Whether that was to shampoo, shave, we don't know, but it was a significant number. And that in itself, which was seen in a separate parallel study where they put a little message up saying, pause your shower in the middle, that can have the potential to save a lot more water, because it's not that people are in the shower cubicle for less time, it's just that the water's running for less. And I think that's a huge thing that not everyone can do, because some people's showers will turn to ice cold when you turn it off. But if you're in a house or a location where it works, then it's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because you would have thought in the time it would take for people to, get their shampoo bottle at the ready or whatever, they wouldn't think to turn the water off while they were doing it. So it's quite interesting, isn't it? That people are actually doing that without prompting.
There's another piece that almost goes with it, is if you look at a lot of the shampoo manufacturers, on the bottle it will say leave in for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes even, and the conditioner will say something similar. And not many people will actually do that, I don't think. But if you were to do that and you just stood there with the shower water running, that could be a huge difference in how much you consume.
It would be, wouldn't it? You're right, I do read those and take it with a pinch of salt. I'm not sure I've ever waited 4 minutes for conditioner.
I'll throw it open to all of you. We normally invite our guests to share with us how much water they actually use a day in sort of litres per person. I don't know if any of you feel brave enough to share your insights with us.
I'll go first. Because I've been asked this before. In my household, and it's just me and my wife, 67 litres a day. But that's within the household. And I do have to preface that with, I come into the office and 3 days a week I use the shower here because I cycle in. So that definitely will have an impact on that number.
That's very good though, isn't it? Very good levels.
Yeah.
Yeah,
mine's feeling brave.
mine's an estimate based on having thought about what we do and how often we use the dishwasher and washing machine and so on. I reckon I'm probably 60 to 80 or something like that.
Okay, that's
also very good. Yeah.
And mine is around 85. 85, 87, I think is the latest bill I saw that.
right. Well, you're leading by example, gentlemen, so that's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
We absolutely stink. You should meet us in person.
Well, if we can't convince ourselves in our households to reduce, we don't have much chance of getting everyone else to cut back.
Well, this is it, exactly. Well, it's been fascinating talking to you, and as I say, we'll be really interested in seeing what this next phase of work goes on to reveal about people's habits and activities. So thanks ever so much for joining us, and we'll look forward to hearing more once the work has been done. So thanks again.
Thanks
for having us.
Yes, we'll see you in the shower lab.
What would you like Waterfall to cover next? Send your water-saving topics to podcast@ccwater.org.uk.
Wow, so there we go. We've got the great and the good from academia there telling us all about their research. I mean, I have to smile that the conclusion of research is you need more research. They're clearly very good researchers, good at getting future grants. Yeah. that's a great way of doing it. But yeah, Karen, what do you make of all of that?
Well, I mean, this is something that we've touched on in previous episodes, but we do, when we go into the bathroom, have all our sort of routines and habits that we do without really giving it much thought. And I think it was really interesting at a couple of points in the conversation where, that becomes more and more apparent. And so you need something that's actually going to make people sort of stop and take notice. And it's obviously quite difficult to do when you're in the shower because people often stay behind closed doors, don't they? So it's quite difficult to intervene.
Yeah, I mean, that struck me too. I intervene with my kids and have on occasion been known to come in and throw cold water over them, which then generally has two impacts. One, the shower ends, and then an argument then it takes place. So yes, no, I thought that was interesting as well. And also about where you have your shower. That was interesting too.
Yes, I mean, I think it was particularly interesting, to hear that where you've got shared bathroom facilities, it can often lead to people taking less time in there, obviously because they do have concerns about a queue building up outside. So I think, as I say, I think there's quite a lot to take away from this research. And I'm particularly intrigued to what this showering lab is going to look like. And I think Cath and I will have to consider whether we do actually go down for a visit.
Interestingly, I've just come back from a holiday in the west coast of America, and in California they have mandatory pressure standards, low pressure standards for showers because of their water crisis, which is interesting because we don't have anything mandatory here for that. But yeah, and I have to say, it didn't really change my showering experience.
Yeah, I mean, and again, as we discussed with on the podcast, there is still a bit of a conundrum around whether a low flow rate actually means people spend more time in the shower and therefore using more water, or whether something that's a bit more impactful actually gets the job done more quickly.
I thought that was a really fascinating episode, though. And please tell us what you think. You can. We've got an email address,
which is podcast@ccwater.org.uk.
And please let us know what you think. If you've got any suggestions for future shows, Tom always reminds us to tell people we've got an extensive back catalogue, and to like and give us a review on iTunes, Apple Store. So please do all of that and hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss an episode. And there are some great episodes coming up. So that's all from me. Goodbye from me, Mike.
Goodbye from me, Karen.
And goodbye from me, producer Tom. Bye.